I can't even believe it. I think I just don't even know where to start. There's just no good way for me to say this, so I'm just going to say it. 86% of sellers today are bad, and I mean bad, at consultative selling. And the only thing that we're worse at is closing. I mean, come on. The ability to actively listen and ask good, thought-provoking questions is the core of what good consultative selling and what sales is all about. And only 14% of sellers out of 2 million surveyed are good at it? This is a crisis, no matter how you look at it, especially when you take into account that LinkedIn's 2020 State of Sales report showed that the number one trait that buyers want from sellers is to be actively listening to them. Yet active listening isn't even in the top 5 things that sales managers or traits that they look for in their sellers. So should we really be surprised that this same report also showed that only 40% of decision makers described sales profession as being trustworthy? Actually, I am a little bit surprised because I thought that number would be a lot lower. How can this be? And would we be okay with this in any other profession? I mean, really, can you think about imagining being okay with the fact that 86% of truck drivers don't know their difference from the left to the right? Or that 86% of accountants are bad at math? Or that 86% of carpenters can't read a tape measure? No big deal. Well, I'm not okay with it, and neither should you be. So here are 3 things that you can do right now, today, to start turning this around in your sales. First, if you want to be good at actively listening, then, you just have to shut the hell up. And I'm not just talking about keeping your mouth shut, but also keeping the voices in your head shut too. And this applies to all of us, whether you're a seller, a sales leader, or an entrepreneur. We all need to get better at this, myself included. Now, the first part to keeping your mouth shut is pretty easy. Just close your lips. The second part, though, not so easy, because it requires you to be completely present in the moment. And if you find that difficult, as a lot of us do, then there are several things that you can do in your day-to-day to practice. You could meditate. You could do yoga. You could go for a walk outside, sans technology. You could do a vocal warm-up as well before your calls. Now, performers do this to not only warm up their voice, but to also put themselves in the present moment so that they can connect with their audience. All of life is a stage. We're just performers in a play. Now, the second thing is also easy to do, and that is to eliminate your distractions. Turn off your email, your Slack, all of your social media notifications. In fact, I recommend turning them all off all the time. The constant pinging and dinging puts your brain in the state of constant task switching, which is exhausting and inefficient. But we get addicted to it because every little beep sends little dopamines running into our brains. But by turning them off now, right now, come on, cold turkey, you can do it. Not only will you decrease your anxiety levels and increase your productivity levels, but you'll be better able to do some more focused work. And your buyers deserve that from you. Now, finally, my third tip is to help you to become better consultative sellers and leaders is to really just ask more better questions. Now, I play a game with my coaching clients that we call the questions and periods game. Now, the aim of the game is to answer every question with another question so that you can get further clarification on what someone is thinking. My husband and I also made this a game for our New Year's Eve party. And if you slipped up during the game, during the New Year's Eve party, and you answered a question with a period at the end, you had to take a shot. You can do the same thing with just about anybody around you. No shots required. You can start with the clerk at the grocery store when they ask, "So how are you today?" And you reply with, "I'm good. How is your workday going?" And then you're off. Or you could even start with your spouse and your family or your neighbors. At the end of their day, ask them questions about their day. Be curious, withhold all of your judgment, and withhold all of your advice. Now, here's some of the science behind these 3 tips. A Stanford University study showed that when these kinds of elaboration questions get asked, it helps us, the salesperson, to understand other people's viewpoints, where they're coming from. The study also found that these kinds of questions help the person who's being asked, the buyer, to be more receptive to other ideas, even if those ideas are contradictory to their own. Now, there was another study from Harvard University that shows how when we disclose information like this, where we actually are offering what we think and our opinions and views on things, that increases the area of our brains that's associated with reward and pleasure. More dopamine. What that means is that our buyers actually enjoy answering these kinds of questions. So ask more of those questions that ask your buyers to state their thoughts and their opinions and their views on things. And that is my science-based sales tip for you for this month. You can start putting these into practice and monitoring how much you're talking, how many questions that you're asking on your calls. Be curious, have some fun with it, and don't forget, stay in the moment. Until next time.